Hello, everyone. This is Aru, also known as Malfunction, the artist, and whatever else. So today, as my guest, as a special guest, I should say, is Erin Chance from Thunderhorse Tattoo here in Whangarei. She's
Hi.
been living she was been living overseas, and now she's returned back to New Zealand. She's an expat, come back and become part of our creative community again. And so we're going to talk to her about her journey, her art things, the tattoo life, the creative side of that, and what she does and what her husband does, Nick does, compared to the different things that they work on. Because not every tattoo artist specializes in everything. Some might dabble in a
Mhm.
bit, but some specially specialize in something specifically because that is what they're really good at. And that happens with any artist, and you can see them specializing, ceramic artists to like a painter will just stick to that specific thing. And that's something that I think is really cool. But there's also those that just, you know, jack of all trades. So let's have a talk to Erin, and I'll let Erin introduce herself and we'll go on from there.
Thanks. Yeah, my name's Erin Chance. I own Thunder Horse Tattoo in Whangarei with my husband Nick Zion. I just moved back just over a year ago from living in the States for almost 10 years and had a shop over there and did Ink Master Season 9. Some of you may have heard of that. And yeah, that's us.
So let's talk about Ink Master, because a lot of people would know about Ink Master, and there's another. I think I remember watching another series. I can't remember if it was Ink Master, but season 9. Is that with
Mhm.
those shows? How did you get approached to be part of that?
They'd honestly been emailing me since I moved to the States. So I got asked to do it every year, and I was actually meant to do it the year before, but we just opened the shop and there was too much going on. So I got 90% of the way through the process and then ended up just turning it down. But they came back for season 9 and were like they wanted me and another guy at our shop to do it. So we went we went and it was an interesting experience.
So
Yeah.
stepping back, were you a tattoo artist here in New Zealand before you moved to
Mhm.
America and did it, or
Yeah.
how'd
Yes.
that come about?
So I started tattooing in mid 2006. Um,
Okay.
and I moved over there in late 2012. So I've been tattooing almost 7 years before I moved to the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so that's 16 years. Am I right there? That you're 16
Mm-hmm.
years you've been a tattoo artist. So what
Yep.
did you start doing tattooing like here in Whangarei, or were you somewhere else in New Zealand that you learned your trade, or
Um,
or are you still
I
taught?
I no, I apprenticed in Auckland at in Howick at a shop called Eastside Tattoo, and then I got offered a job at Sacred Tattoo, which is like a really nice shop here, and it's in Kingsland now in Auckland. Um, but they couldn't take me on right away, so I actually moved back to Whangarei for a little while and was working at Art and Soul here for a few months before Sacred had room for me. So yeah, I have tattooed in Whangarei a tiny bit before now, but not
Yeah.
much. Yeah, mostly
So what
Auckland.
made you move over to America?
Chasing a guy, yeah, that stupid thing. And yeah, that didn't end up working out, but it led to a lot of really awesome opportunities. Like I met
Yeah.
my business partner over there. He opened Unkindness Art and had a really successful run with that. She's still running it. I stepped away after we decided to move back here. Um, yeah, and tons of travel, met amazing people over there. Yeah, it was a fun run.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to the reason I asked that was because I was talking to Philip Hitaraka yesterday, who moved over to Aussie for 10 years, and he
Mhm.
had that, and, just sort of he's also opened his, eyes to different people. And, there's a difference in like when you step outside of your home or outside of
Mhm.
city or your network where you experience different things and different doors open, but you also get to see other people's point of views and what their skills are. And did you come around, find someone to help, with the skill set? Did you learn something? Like you said, you met your partner there who, you work with the shops and stuff, but did you apprentice more under her while you were there, or did you she just let you do your thing? And what was that like?
I mean, I've actually been tattooing a little bit longer than she has. I mean, she's amazing. She's an incredible artist. Her name's Teresa Sharp. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we bounced ideas off each other a lot, and we'd go to each other with drawings and be like, is this right? Like, what's wrong with this? What do I need to fix? So I think we bounced off. It was a pretty collaborative effort. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So how did you actually meet her and decide to do the shop? Or was the shop afterwards, or was it she already had the shop?
No, she was working. I was living in Richmond, Virginia, and she was living and working in Fort Wayne, Indiana, of all places. And she bred cats. She bred Sphinx cats, and I had no idea that she was a tattoo artist. I accidentally came across her Instagram page when it was just naked kittens. And she had a litter for sale, so I messaged her about that. And once we got talking, we realized that we were both tattoo artists. And she told me to come out and do a guest spot when I came to get the cat, and it just went from there. So yeah, random.
Awesome. That's what I mean. So you're randomly meeting someone, and now so with the business side of things, she already had the business, or as a tattoo artist, or
she was a tattooer as well, but she was working for someone else. So and I was just I was working for myself, but out of an art gallery that had a small tattoo space in the back that I was renting. And she just asked me if I wanted to open a shop with her. She wanted to get out of Indiana because it was too cold. And she came out to visit me in Richmond a couple of times and really loved the city. It's a really, really cool little town. And then I got the opportunity to take over the lease for the whole art gallery. So we did that. We signed the lease and turned it into a full-size tattoo shop. Hired a bunch of artists and went from there. Yeah,
wow, that's pretty awesome.
So
what was it like transitioning from being a solo artist in your own little studio to actually having a partner, the commitment to actually be in this together, and then also hiring other people and trusting them to look after your business and your what they say, your reputation as an artist?
Yeah, I mean, it's tattoo artists, it's like wrangling cats, right? So it's never easy. Everyone's got strong personalities, and some people like to party, and it's interesting. But overall we had really good times, and we had a really great crew. There's always ups and downs with every business, and every now and then, if you've got a business partner, you're going to butt heads. But we made it work, and it's still a really great shop. So yeah.
So now, was Nick one of those workers under you there, or was he someone you knew?
He came in later. I actually met him because I tattooed him, and so I tattooed him. He was super shy. He barely talked to anybody while he was there, but he started sending me dog memes on Facebook, and we just started talking a little bit, and eventually after a few months he came out to do a guest spot, and that was it. We started dating after that, and then he ended up moving to Richmond, and he did come to work for us until we moved back here. So
Nick was working as a tattoo artist when he came to get a tattoo from you. Is that what?
Yeah. He was from Minnesota, tattooing up there, so a good 18-hour drive away from us.
Wow. So he actually sought you out to get a tattoo from you 18 hours away.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is what a lot of people don't understand, about tattoo artists. It's there are some that stick out amongst all the
Mhm.
other ones. Like I say, you know, like the artists, you know, even amongst the artists, like you go, like for in comics, we say, well, Jim Lee, right? For DC,
Yeah.
he's a guy that you pay $200 for just to meet to get a piece of paper signed by him, that kind of thing, and like, or
Mhm.
even more, you know, because if you're going to a convention, you're paying probably about $1,000 to get to America to meet him. And I've done that here
Yeah.
locally, you know, going to Armageddon and saying, oh, David Lloyd from the artist from, you know, the last, was it V for Vendetta artist, you know,
Mhm.
oh, he's coming. So I am going to pay for my ticket. I am going to pay for the petrol, and I'm going to go to Auckland just to get a signature because, you know, and then I can, you know, have it on my wall and have a mask for V signed by him saying to Aru,
Yeah.
or like, he was an amazing guy, right? So, and this is how, you know, and then he actually sketched me the V mask as well, and like it's
That's awesome.
framed up there somewhere, you know. And this is a similarity with artists, with tattoo artists, where people
Mhm.
will say, well, I love that artist and her work or his work, and I need to make sure that piece of her talent or his talent is on my body because I know I'm going to get the best job. You know, I'm not going to get a
Mm.
shoddy job because, you know, with I think, I'm not sure which TV show that I've watched about botched tattoos, where they fix
Oh, yeah.
botched tattoos and terrible tattoos done by,
Mhm.
you know, street tattoo artists, or, you know, something's just gone really wrong. And I'm sitting going, you know, and I've had one of those, you know, and
Mhm.
so you kind of go, next one's gonna be, I'm gonna save up to get that artist's work on me, even if it costs more than I would want to pay, because I know at least I'll be safe and the work will look great.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now, how do you, yeah, tell us about that part of things, but actually being sought out as someone.
It's very flattering. It's I don't always understand it because, you know, I mean, it's, as an artist, you look at your own stuff and all you see is the flaws. But
Yeah,
yeah, like yeah, so
yeah,
people, but yeah, I mean, I had, when I was living in the States, I had a regular client that flew over from Spain. I had
wow,
people that would fly out from like California, or like we were on the East Coast, so they'd fly out from the West Coast or drive from New York. Or, it's yeah, I don't know. It's incredible that that people liked our work enough that they would travel like that. But yeah, it's pretty awesome, especially like in the States when like there is so many options. There's a lot of really amazing
yeah.
artists there. So yeah.
So one of the things, I mean, like being a tattoo fan, because it's just part of
Mhm.
my, you know, part of art, and so actually having art actually adorn your body is just the next stage up, you know, for
Mhm.
any artist. So you'll see a lot of artists that actually have artwork on them,
Mhm.
because, you know, because they want art to be a part of them as much as that's what they do as a, you know, as a career or as a lifestyle. Now um I watched a TV show where it's about tattoos in every single country, you know,
Mhm.
and like their styles, their unique styles. So when you went, you know, talk about your style, or what is it that you bring that people would want, you know, that would come to from Spain, or from, you know, from next 1800 miles to come and visit you and say, please put it, you know, here's my money, and this is the part I want it
Yeah.
on, and I'm willing to. And the other part of that is that it takes a long time, depending on the size,
Yeah.
right? And you're there getting stuck with needles in that time. So there's not only the pain, coming up with the money, the travel, taking that time to actually be there that time, and paying for the food and all, you know, all the rent and all that comes in just to do that.
Yeah.
And then,
Hmm.
you know, then trusting the artist to put her mark, her style on your body. What is your mark and your style?
I'm best known for my color work. So I do I mean,
Okay.
the easiest way to describe it is illustrative, but that's also kind of a cop-out word because it could mean anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just have a very, I feel like when you see my stuff, you know that I did it because I tend to, like, even if I'm using reference, I tend to stylize everything in a really specific way.
Mm.
I had a lot of influence when I was younger from like actually comic books is the reason that I got into tattooing.
Wow.
So but
That's
like
cool.
nine like yeah,
Yeah.
like Martin Niemand, the New Zealand legend, and like Simon
Yeah.
Bisley, the 2000 AD stuff, and yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I took a lot of influence from that early on, and then obviously as you adapt things to as you learn what's going to age better in skin and you know what works and what doesn't, you adapt to your style and yeah. And my husband Nick does these days. He's like pretty much exclusively doing anime tattoos, and they're really cool.
Yeah.
He's and
Yeah.
again, he's got like his own spin on it, so you can kind of he doesn't a lot of anime tattooers will just take screenshots or whatever and just trace them, and he draws
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, it's got his own like it's a little different from what other people are doing. Yeah.
I mean, with you talking about Simon Bisley, I was actually talking to the
Mhm.
guys on New Zealand Comics and Collectibles, which a couple of my friends run, which is a group page here in in New Zealand on Facebook, and just talking about Beasley, right? So there is. Do you remember the Horn God from
Sorry,
Slain?
sorry, it
The
just cut out
the
then.
Horn God from sorry. So the
Mhm.
Horn God from Slain.
Yeah. Yes.
So do you remember him like falling into the underworld, his body naked, and he's just flowing into the underworld? So
Hmm.
I took that image and I painted it on a like a just half size, maybe like a eighth, no, actually quite like a meter by 50 or meter by 40 panel way back in
Yeah.
2014. And because I love Simon's work so much, because I got raised up when I was about 10, when I moved over to New Zealand around about 9, 10, on 2000 AD, because my friend across the street, Regan Bell, he was into that. And we used to be called the ABC Warriors, our own little hut, you
Yeah.
know, and all that. So, and a huge Judge Dredd fan. And to,
Hmm.
because now I'm creating comics myself, and I was just coloring a comic with cover for a comic, which I've never done really before. I mess around with my own stuff, but here I'm coloring somebody else's artwork who's from overseas and going, I hope I don't ruin this, because I'm going to send it
Yeah.
back to him and say, is this okay? Because he didn't want to color it. He just like ink and that, and then leave me to color
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, all I have to go on is what I used to understand about what I used to paint way back in the 90s, because I haven't painted for a while, probably at least about 2 decades I haven't painted. But I
Yeah.
have been messing around with like digital coloring, and that's a new thing for
Hmm.
me, even though I've tried over the past few years. So when you actually have a permanent marker, as they say, right,
Hmm.
and that you, as
Yeah.
with ink, tattoo ink, that you cannot remove, because the only other way you can get rid of it, if there's any failure, is like with laser gunning and stuff, and that just ruins your skin as well, I guess, to a certain degree. But having that permanence, um, how did you get over that? Is what I'm trying to say. Because now you're saying you're known for your coloring out. How did
Hmm.
you go from being liking comic books, saying I'm going to now do tattoo, but then how do you
Yeah.
get into that stage where you go, this is going to be on somebody's body, and that part? Because I think a lot of people don't understand that, because once it's there, there is a permanence to it. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's a long question, but yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a long answer too.
Mm.
I so I got offered an apprenticeship when I was 18, and I actually chickened out because of that reason. I was just like, this is permanent, and I'm not good enough. I can't do this. So I didn't take it. And then a few years later, when I was 22ish, I ended up getting that same apprenticeship back, and I was ready by then. But that first tattoo, my boss was videoing me because he thought it was so funny. I was like sweating bullets and just like I was shaking and pale, and it's really scary. And you eventually get past that stage of it and start having a little bit more confidence. But I mean, it's always in the back of your head, like if I mess this up, like that's
Yeah.
on them. And I mean, and mistakes do happen. Like somebody might jump, or if you're just like, if you've got a lapse in attention and you like start coloring the wrong part or something, and you've just got like, you've got to be good enough to or have the confidence to be able to recognize your mistakes and to be able to fix them without it looking strange, because honestly it's going to happen to everybody at some point. We're not machines,
Yeah.
we're people. And yeah, it's just about being able to change things on the fly if you need to make it like look like it's meant to be there. So yeah, touch wood, so far I've always managed it.
There is, you know, there is a confidence on both sides, I think, or when somebody comes in, because now that you have this level of, I guess, quality to your work, that you've and you've built up a trust and respect for what you have done and learnt, and you know, and where you've arrived at in your art, as a, you know, with your skill. And then also that's the person coming in also understands that, because there's that trust that you build between the two of you, and you go, okay, you're here because I'm, you know, you trust me, and now I'm going to trust you because you've given up all that trust to come and be settled. Because you know, like we're talking about, like somebody moves or jumps, because because there is that pain level to that. You know, people who are not aware of what it's like to get you know, get the needles in you, and or those who have never ever had anything for the first time. How do you get them to feel confident about what you're doing, to bring them down to being, you know, settled?
Yeah. You know, if I get the sense that somebody's not like, if somebody's like really nervous about it, I always say to them, like, look, if you look at my portfolio and you like even like 90% of what's in there, like the chances are really high that you're going to be happy with what you get. And it's just, it is a really, there is a big level of trust to it.
Yeah.
Especially with Nick and I, we often don't have the drawing to show people until the day of their appointment. So when they turn up to their appointment, they don't know what they're getting until they get there. So there's a huge level of trust in that. And you know, we can make changes on the fly, but we touch wood rarely need to. You just have to have a really good conversation with your client beforehand and make sure that you're on the same page. And honestly, if there's people that aren't, when I'm talking to people over email and they're really, really set on very specific things, and I can tell that they're really nervous to let go of control, I will often recommend that they go to a different artist, because there's a certain level of control that you have to be comfortable with letting go of. Because otherwise, yeah, it's people getting tattoos don't necessarily know what's going to look good, and like, you know, in like 10 years time, when like, if they might want something that's really tiny and like close together, and it's going to be a big blob in 10 years. And if they're not willing to like listen to advice, then yeah. Yeah, trust is a huge part of it.
There is also
And
that
it's
thing
just,
where they sorry, there is also that thing where like the body changes, right? Like you just mentioned, the body changes over time. I mean, I mean, like me, like I lose weight, I gain weight, I lose weight, I gain weight. And like I've got like, when I was like 14 or 15, I was doing weight training. I've still got stretch marks from then. And
yeah.
so it looks like scars. And, you know, I'm 50 now. So that's about 35 years ago, or something like that. I mean, I'm 49, sorry. And I've got 35-year-old scars, you know, that are from stretch marks, from having, you know, muscle there and that, you know, tone, whatever. But there is, yeah, explain that as well. I mean, with the body changes with tattoos.
I mean, just even if you didn't lose or gain weight over time, your tattoos are going to change because your skin is, you're going to lose collagen and elasticity, and the ink is, it's basically held there by the grace of God. Your immune system's constantly sort of like picking at it, and that's
Yeah.
why laser works, because laser will break down the ink particles small enough for the white blood cells to carry it away. But basically over
Okay.
time, if you have like a really nice crisp sharp line, that line is going to spread and get a little fuzzy, and that it doesn't matter how good the tattoo is done,
Yeah.
that's just skin. So
Yeah.
so
I'm just looking at this because, like, I'm not sure if you can see it there, but I mean, those were very, very crisp lines, right? When it was first
yeah.
done. Now look at it, and this is when I was like about, gosh, when I was 18, maybe 30 odd years
Mm-hmm.
ago. And
Yeah.
so, it was very, very, you know, very crisp. The lines were perfect,
Mm-hmm.
everything. And now here, over that time, it's slowly got a bloody, and but I still love it. It's I might
Yeah.
get it cleaned up, and there's the other part, right? So you could actually get fixes to make the
Oh
lines
yeah.
better. So do you do
Mm-hmm.
that sort of work as well, repair work?
Yeah, absolutely. Like more often than not, if I'm working over a tattoo that somebody's not happy with, I'm either completely covering it up, or if we are just trying to rework it, it will end up being changed quite a bit. Unless it's like, it's something that, like, the artwork was awesome to begin with and it just didn't, it wasn't executed properly, or it just has aged too much, then I'll just basically do it how it was. But yes, I do I'll fix stuff up for people. I actually think it's pretty
So
fun.
yeah, I mean, because you're actually rejuvenating an artwork that can be loved again. Like me saying, okay, it's a bit blotchy now, and suddenly deciding, well, whenever I would like to make that shot pop out a bit more, maybe darker, because now it looks a bit bluey because of age. But
Mm-hmm.
like, there is that thing where you can say falling in love with the old artwork again, because
Yeah.
it's like you said, rejuvenating whatever somebody else's artwork, or that's much better. Now, about let's talk about laser fixing and stuff. Is that something that you guys
Mm-hmm.
advise when it's too bad, or is that something that you guys do yourself, or it's something
Um,
something I know only a little bit know about, but I'm sure I'm like
yeah.
everybody else, only know a little bit about.
Laser is a really, really awesome tool. We don't do it.
Hmm.
Like, there's a Sacred Laser in Auckland is who I would advise to go see. They're really, really professional and they've got really high end equipment.
Yeah.
Because it can go wrong if you go see somebody that doesn't know what they're doing, or if they're using really cheap equipment, you can get scarred.
Mm.
But yeah, basically, like I said earlier, laser works by breaking down the pigment into tiny particles so your white blood cells can carry it away. So the better your immune system is, the better laser is going to work for you. But yeah, like, you don't have to you can completely remove a tattoo if your end goal is to have no tattoo. But even usually like 3 or 4 sessions just to fade it, that, and just take the worst of the blackout. That is that's enough usually for us to be able to do a pretty successful cover up. And quite often we can do cover ups without it too. It really just depends on what you want over top. And again, how much control you're willing to let go of, because obviously with the cover up, there's even less options, because like certain things will have to be a certain color and texture and that to work to cover certain things. There's a science to it, I guess. Yeah.
The other thing, let me just grab my notes here. I was thinking about, do you and your husband Nick, do you guys, like, he does line work and you color, or is it like you guys work together, or is it separate artists work?
Like collaborations. I've never done a collaboration with Nick, although we have talked about it.
Mm.
Like, especially like right now, there's kind of there's a sort of style happening where things will be sort of half realistic and half anime or something like within the same image. So we've talked about maybe doing something like that as a collab. But no, we've never collaborated on anything. We just do our own stuff right now. I have done a lot of collaborations though. My old business partner Teresa and I used to do a few. But yeah, they're fun. They're hard. It's a lot harder than just working by yourself, because you know you've got two people with two different styles trying to make like one image work. So yeah,
it could be difficult. I mean, like anytime you're working with someone else on something, because you know it's a permanence to tattooing. One of the other things I was going to ask is now, for me, with dark skin, right? Some areas of my skin is really dark and some is quite light, depending on when friggin' the sun's on it, and when I get that, you know, when my skin actually gets sun turn, right? We do get sunburn, and our skin does get darker at times. So when you have how do you deal with like the darker skinned people like myself, or even, you know, moderate like brown skin, mid tones or whatever, compared to light skin? Because I know that sometimes you also have like I think, is it Irish people who have like very pale, or was it European people who have really pale skin? And how does that work when it comes to actual tattoos?
So obviously, like if somebody has like paper white skin, you can use like really pale colors on them and you'd still be able to see them. And so basically skin where it's tattoos, they sit underneath the dermis. So it's almost like having like a tinted filter over it. So the darker that tint is, then like the more it's going to affect the color underneath it. So, but in saying that, like people that say that you can't get color if you have dark skin, that's not correct at all. Like we are more than happy to do color tattoos. You just have to understand that there's going to be some colors that aren't going to be as bright. And some colors like blues in that, if somebody has a really, like a really yellow based skin tone, those blues might look a little greener when they're healed. But yeah, it's total myth that you can't have color if you have dark skin.
So the other thing there is like, is there like a layer of like a white to lighten a specific area if you want to have, say, like a very colorful animated anime character on your skin like mine? And is there like a underlay that you could put that's really light to lighten the area, and then color on top with new color inks?
I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't, because it's not about what's underneath it. It's about the skin on top. So it's still, no matter what you put down first, once it heals, that like filter is going to be back over it. So, but there's like,
that's interesting, because I never thought of, I never thought of the brown on top being what's making the colors underneath be that, be dark. So that's something, something very new that I'm, finding out today. So is there, so there is none of that, but how do you actually approach that, the skin tones actually to color, and explain to people, hey, these inks will work better, and this, even though if you say, listen, you want blue, but it'll become green at this level, this tone of green. So maybe we could try that. How do you, try to explain that part when people don't understand that, like myself?
I mean, it's just having an honest conversation with people, and you can also, like, I do most of my designing on Procreate on my iPad. So I could take the design I've drawn for them and make like the background layer. I could make it roughly their skin tone, and then just multiply the layers. So and then that kind of gives you a rough idea about how it might look when it's healed, because obviously awesome. That's going to like mix those the brown with those colors. So but it's just really pale colors that you want to avoid, just because like they'll look great fresh, but once it's healed you won't see them as much. So It's just keeping
Yeah,
things
once
like
that once that
keeping it in high contrast.
yeah, once the melanin returns over that healed process, then it's like it's back to
Hmm.
seeing what it's going to look like. That's pretty interesting
Yeah.
to learn. I mean, like, like, I mean, I had a few years ago, I wanted to have a phoenix on my back because it's lighter on my back, but then it's like, well,
Hmm.
that's a lot of time spent to get a phoenix on my back because
Yeah.
there is that other part of actually getting the tattoo design and then going, how many runs at this do I have to lie down here before I can get it done? So how do you approach
Hmm.
that depending on the size?
That, I mean, that's just another conversation you've got to have with people so they understand early on. I mostly do large scale work, so and I can't guarantee when somebody comes in and wants a full back piece. I can't say like, well, it's going to be exactly this many sessions, because it depends on like different skin textures. Some people's skin is easier to tattoo than others, so obviously if your skin's easier to tattoo, it's going to be faster.
Yeah,
Some people sit better if you need a lot of breaks, or if like you're squirming a lot, obviously that's going to slow things down. But I can give like a general idea. Like most of the, I call it like neck to knees, so like literally from the back of your neck down to the bottom of your knees, they usually take me
yeah.
between like 70 and 90 hours. So yeah, I can, like, you can get it done over the course of a year. Most of the time, something that big, people choose to space it out over a couple of years. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, like 70 to was it 70 to 90 hours? I mean, that's a lot of
Mhm.
hours for you to put into a tattoo. I mean, a lot of people
Mhm.
don't understand the time as well. It's like, okay, it's only this big, and this is how much it's going to cost, and you're like, that's a lot, but it's like you don't, it depends. Does it depend on the detailed work, or how does it
Yeah.
work? I mean, like if you're just going for like a 10 by 5 centimeter, area, how do you
Mhm.
explain to people why it's going to cost that, or is that somebody just goes, I understand, and just give it to me and I'm good?
Um, we typically figure out pricing, or like by how many hours it's going to take us. So it's like a 5 by 10 centimeter piece could be, it could be an hour because it's pretty simple, or it could be like 6 hours because there's a ton of detail and different colors, and it's it completely depends on what the design is, and also on how the person sits. So yeah.
So what is the biggest work that you, I mean, like we said, neck to knees, that you've done, that someone's actually gone out of the way and said, here, Erin, I want you to do this, and you plan it
Mhm.
all out. Has somebody actually said no after all that work, and they said, no, no, it's too much, I can't handle that? Or have they come back a few years and said, yes, you were right, I was wrong, I went to everybody else, and they said no, Erin's the only one who could do it in that way or in that style with that much detail? Has that happened to you before?
No, I've had a couple of people, and this happens to everybody, where like you'll start a big piece on somebody and then never see them again, and then maybe like 5 years later you'll get an email like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I just, this happened in my life, and then this happened, and I just
Yeah.
like, but I really want to finish the tattoo now, but it's been 5 years. Um but no, generally once people start things, it's they see it through. So
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
I don't
I
have a.
mean, it's I guess they have the confidence in you before that, they've probably done all their work ahead of time to just say, yeah, this is the person I want to work with. Like you said, that guy from Spain who comes to you, and knows
Mhm.
what it's going to take. And I think a lot of times, because there's a permanence to it, most people, like you said, most people understand that this is what this is. And then,
Mhm.
it reminds me of, I think there is a Nepalese um, artist that like sorry tattoo model who I used to talk to on DeviantArt years ago, 2 decades ago even
Yeah.
maybe, and and she was just saying, like, she was the first, because Nepalese are basically Indians, North Indians and
Mhm.
such, and so their skin's quite light, and she had this vibrant red and everything tattooed on it, and like she was the first Indian person that I saw that had such brightness to her skin. And so I was like talking to her about actual art and stuff, because there's a lot of people on DeviantArt who showcase their work with the tattoos and stuff. And you guys are you on there? Are you on other platforms showcasing what you do as your skills and your work?
I definitely I definitely started out on DeviantArt, also about two decades ago. Yeah, when I was an apprentice, it was actually it was a huge part of my life at the time, because it was such a big confidence booster to be able to like put art out there and have people like, yeah, I love this. I'm like, oh, all right, I'm on the right track, But yeah, no, these days, mostly Instagram. Instagram's such a great platform for artists because it's visual. So yeah, I'm just Erin Chance Tattoo on there. My husband is Nick Zeien, Zeien .tattoo, and in the shop is Thunderhorse .tattoo. So
awesome. So when you came back to Whangarei, was it 2 years ago or was it a year ago?
About a year and a half-ish, almost.
And already, because you guys have the skills, have the talents, this is what you do, and what you, as a career, how quickly did you decide, okay, we just need to set up a shop, and how did you go about that?
We were working at another shop in town, Insight up in Carmel for a while. It really just came down to once COVID like really started to happen over here, we decided that we just wanted to have our own private little space, just so we weren't as exposed, because we've got a toddler, and we just didn't want to. We wanted to have as little chance as possible of bringing it home to her. So that was really really it. So just so we didn't have to worry about so many other artists and their clients being in the room at the same time. So right. But it's worked out really well for us. We're really enjoying having our own little space.
Now your baby's gonna your 3-year-old's gonna have like a US citizenship and New Zealand citizenship soon, and so you're gonna with Nick, you're gonna be able to go back and forth. Now, did you get your green card over in the US, or as I say?
Yeah.
So so now you're able to basically travel back and forth, and because of your people knowing you so well and stuff over there through Ink Master, and I'm going to talk about that soon as well. But like the fact that now you can travel between 2 continents with a working permit, because and be at any of those conventions and stuff, because you guys are down in Wellington when Plunge is happening, but but you have a lot of stuff that's going to be available at Plunge. But the other side of that is that how about the convention circuits, tattoo especially, how many of those have you attended?
Oh wow, hundreds. I couldn't tell you. I used to do in the States there was a few years where I would be doing a different convention every weekend in a different state, so or a different country even. We'd do like mini European tours, and do like a convention in Ireland, and then a convention in London, and then a convention in Barcelona, and I also there's a few comic conventions in the States that have tattoo sections, so like I could tattoo at comic conventions sometimes, like Edmonton Expo. I've tattooed there, which was really awesome. I was actually directly across from Stan Lee, which was really cool.
Hopefully you got a signature.
I didn't. I was too scared to go to. I was busy, but I was scared to talk to him. He had like, he was a very old, sweet man, but he was. He'd have these very small windows where he'd make his appearances, and he had this like huge corral of humans in a line for like all day waiting for like this 20-minute appearance. He's gonna make it 3 o'clock, So, no, I didn't. I did not want to bother him, but yeah, there's other like just little like there's a cosplay convention in Alabama called Magic City Con, which is super fun little local convention, and I used to go tattoo there. It's run by Dragon Age fans, and like I am a huge gamer, especially fantasy stuff. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. So
But yeah,
this
no,
convention that's down that's down in Wellington, what is that? Is it like a specific tattoo convention? Because I remember going to one in New Plymouth around about what year was it? Maybe about 20. Geez, must have been 2011. The last, 2010 is the last tattoo convention that I went to, which was in New Plymouth. Wonder if it's the same, same one that goes around, or is it a different one to that?
It's different, but there's a lot of crossover between them as far as the artists that go in there. But no, Wellington Convention's it's a smaller invite only tattoo convention, but it's a really cool show. He has like food trucks outside, and he's got like face painting for the kids. So there's stuff for people to do when they're not getting tattooed. But yeah, the New Plymouth Convention that's finally they had to cancel for the last 2 years because of COVID. So that's finally back on this year in November. I've been doing that since it started. It's New Zealand. I think it's rated the #1 show in Australasia. Like
that's pretty awesome.
Like the Australians like it too. So
yeah, I mean, it gives them a chance to. I mean, I'm sure that like there's overseas artists that come as well to our conventions, because I mean, there would be some people here that would say, well, that person over there, I would love to have them so they could come and tattoo. Because these are invite onlys, because I mean, they want people to tattoo artists come there who actually have the experience, have the skills and the unique skills and the styles. Because it's probably because, or is it that they want to make sure that those people that they bring do a great job and they don't have any fallback on like saying, oh, I went to this and got this, and now we've got somebody's trying to sue us or something over it. Is that how is that why you think this is a privately invite?
It's a pretty small convention in the grand scheme of things. I think it's just under 100 artists. So maybe I honestly don't remember but some conventions have thousands. So it's quite small. So I think that because he's got limited space, they just want to have just a bit of quality control, and just want to have like people that they know that they're going to have a good time with there, so
Well, there is also that, like, when we talk about 90 hours to 70 hours on somebody's body, right? So you're probably going to have somebody already saying, right, I want Erin to do my back, and I'm going to take all her time for this specific time. Do you get that at some events, or like your whole weekend's just backed up with just one person or two people?
I typically won't do that at conventions. I do have people that will travel and do like a couple of days in a row at the shop. I try not to do that at conventions just because I want to be able to do I want to be able to start and finish pieces there.
Sure.
And the convention scene, it's kind of a high stress environment. There's a lot of people and bright lights, and the temperature keeps changing depending on how many people are there, and it's noisy. There's usually bands playing, and I think that kind of high stress environment for somebody that's going through that level of pain for like 2 or 3 full days in a row, I've seen people do it, and it doesn't usually end very well. I think it's much better to, if you're going to do that to yourself, to do that in a shop where it's like, it's a bit more chill and you've got a little bit more control.
So let's talk about like merchandising, because you guys also do merchandising, and this is what is all coming to Plunge. But one of the things this is the artwork that you guys have actually designed specifically, even though if they're like anime characters, cartoon characters, but is it you guys doing the actual illustrations and coloring
Yes.
that's being turned
Yep.
into a T-shirt or a sticker or poster or whatever it is that you're bringing? This is your work. It's not like somebody
Yeah.
else's,
No, everything we do we draw ourselves. So like, or in my case at least, with the exception of if I'm doing portraits or if I'm doing like if somebody wanted an album cover or something, you know, like I did a James Jean Linkin Park album cover a while ago, which was like really fun. And
right.
obviously you're not going to change James Jean's art because why would you? But but yeah, no, Nick does a lot of anime stuff, but he draws it all himself. He uses he doesn't just take screenshots or use other people's fan art. So yeah, usually if you see like if a character's like holding a sword, that's his hands, he's like posed for it. And but yeah, you can like Nick does like got some cool little stickers here from Demon Slayer.
Excellent.
We've got gonna have pins there. We got a bunch of prints.
Yeah. Brilliant. So this is, you while you guys are down in Wellington, you've got assistants actually being there looking after your stall, and with all these different things. Did you I was wondering, the T-shirts as well, or is it just prints and
Yes.
stuff?
I don't have any of the shirts here, but they're at the shop. But yes, we got there's still a few Demon Slayer shirts left, not many. But he has a bunch of Darby from My Hero shirts as well. So I think, yeah.
Excellent.
And then and then my stuff is not anime. Mine's way more boring. Just I got some cute little mice.
Well, I mean, everybody, it's like they say, that it's all flavors, right? I mean, somebody might like, like sci-fi, and somebody might like fantasy. So it is what it is, and then you've got the other side where you have, you could have My Hero Academia, and then somebody likes mecha, big, huge robots and stuff. So, do you guys, with the tattoos, do you get sort of that sort of variance and what you guys are doing with art?
Yeah, I mean I think I do a lot more varied stuff than what Nick does these days, because he's started to really like dial in and specialize on anime. But yeah, my stuff's all over the place. I love doing I like high fantasy stuff. I really like doing like dark, spooky stuff, monsters and witches and werewolves and but
Awesome.
yeah, and honestly though, it's I also do, I do a lot of like floral, and my stuff's more varied, I'd say. But yeah, I also really love doing pop culture stuff. I did a full back piece of The Last Unicorn, and that is still one of my favorite pieces. I'm a very big fan of that movie. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so winding down, I'm thinking like, let's talk about where you guys are based, and because you guys are appointment only, and how do people get in touch with you? So yeah.
The best way to get in touch is just if you go to our individual Instagrams, or to the Thunderhorse Instagram, just thunderhorse.tattoo. There is links to forms to fill out, and on that form you just put your details, and then you can put a description of what you want to get tattooed, and then we go from there. Otherwise, like you can just email us, or all our information is on there as well. Yeah, and we can do most of the consultation over email. If you want to meet in person, or if we feel like we should meet in person, then we can do that too. But we have so many people that travel from out of town that we're pretty used to doing a lot of the design process over email. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple minutes to just do a final kind of like your artist, finishing, this is what we do kind of thing, and so that we can just let you have your say about what you are about, and then we'll come back to say our goodbyes, because I think a lot of when you actually, tattoos are such a amazing way to carry art around, whereas it's all, I can have stuff sitting at home, but then I can just say, hey, look, you know I did that the
Yeah.
other day in town. I we just saw one of my friends friend had just come out of a parlor, and she just raised it and says, oh, look, I saw it, like, actually I saw it wrapped up or something, or had like a cream on it, the seal on it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, can I have a look at that? And then we started talking about tattoo art, because you can see it's actually there. It's not like someone, it's at home or something. So I kind
Yeah.
of I love that about tattoo art. Just like, I think sometimes people think I'm weird because I go, um, that looks pretty cool, because you just want to see what's there. And I think a lot of time people also appreciate that, because that's why they might have that other thing about, they want to show off their work, that they've just gotten,
Mhm.
or they've had, and that whole permanence to tattoos is, it's lifelong. And and it's
Mhm.
something brilliant that that you kind of can't lose. Like, I've lost so much art
Yeah.
over the years, but when you have a tattoo of something, or if you designed the tattoo yourself, it's there, and you can remember why you got that. It's that memorial, or if it's because something happy happened to you, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's something we haven't actually talked about. So there is that aspect, before we get to the final words, about that. Do you have people that actually come in to do tribute, to memorialize stuff? And how do you deal with that? Because I know it sometimes can be very, very personal with these things.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Typically, I encourage people to get something that would make them think of that person and make them smile, rather than like some people might just want like a cross and dates, and that's fine if that's what is going to make you happy, make you think of that person, totally. But then somebody else might get you know a, a it might be like an anime character or something, or that that person really loved, or like they might have loved fishing, or like um yeah, it's I really like to do something that's a little less obvious, I guess, that that just the person wearing it knows what it means, and yeah, rather than the typical memorial tattoos. But yes, we get asked for that a lot.
And here's the thing, right? A lot of people might not know Monsters. I do. A lot of people might
Yeah.
know Preacher from the TV show, but I know it from comic books, because I've got the comic books, kind of thing,
Yeah.
the hardcovers. And the other thing, Saga. A lot of people might not know Saga, but I've got TV head over here somewhere. I kind of
Yeah.
Prince Robot the Fourth. Let me just grab it. And so people might not even know, some of the things we're talking about, but
Yeah.
Saga is a great Romeo and Juliet story in space kind of thing. That's the only way I can remind you of. Monstrous, I might have a couple of issues, but I'm never got around to reading it. I think I might have read an issue, and that was that, because there's so much comics that I have that I have still haven't quite
Uh,
cataloged 70% of it. So let's talk about the
I
comic side, just in finishing, right? Because we talked about,
yeah.
just dropped around with some of the things, but what is it? What was it about comics that made you go into tattooing?
Um, I always loved tattoos and comic art, and it was sort of I don't know, it was kind of one of those, like, I want to pursue one of these things, and I just felt like tattooing was like maybe a bit more accessible, but everything that I used to draw and paint early on was really heavily influenced by like Martin Emand and the Biz. Like, it was very high contrast, muscular women.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I just really love that like 90s 2080 style. Obviously my stuff's changed a lot since then, but that was yeah, I really wanted to get into comics when I was younger, and I just didn't. It just seemed it seems so like, you know, something that happens in America, not in New Zealand, which of course is not true, but you know, I
Yeah.
didn't know better back then.
Well, I mean, I might actually send you something and say, hey, could you do a cover art for this and so on, just to say, hey,
Yeah,
now I actually have done been part of a comic book and stuff.
yeah,
And that's what I love about the fact that, you know, what I see around in our city, there are so many
hmm,
people interested in this, you know, in pop culture that people aren't aware of. Like,
yeah,
like yourself, you have you got into comic books young, and from that you've got into tattoos, and now
hmm,
you've got your partner, the husband, Nick, is doing anime and tattoos and stuff like that, which is all part of manga and stuff. And I just think it's such a cool thing to have people like yourselves in our community, but also having other people know that you're in our community that are able to do those work and art, rather than saying, well, like, I should go and check out somebody in Auckland. They might know something,
yeah,
or they might be able to do this
yeah,
artwork for me on my body. And it's, because there's also, because we're very cultural up here in Northland and in New Zealand in general, there's a lot more tribal work, but you guys aren't doing that sort of influence work, but more pop culture. And I think that's bringing that to this new sort of what seems to be a new art, as they say, is
hmm,
it was really cool, and I really appreciate that, because it just means that there's other folk who do other work that is in our genre of things, which is pop culture,
hmm,
and I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that you guys, are taking part with us at Plunge, but also that I'm hoping that through that, other people will be able to get in touch and get some work done that they can carry
yeah,
on, and look back and say, hey, I got that at there, and I have Erin or Nick done a piece of work and locally done a piece of work like this, rather
yeah.
than having to seek out somebody somewhere else. No, I didn't speak about. We didn't discuss too much about Ink Master. What was that experience like?
Um, I I wouldn't want to do it again. I'm not cut out for TV. You can probably tell I'm very shy and awkward. So yeah, you kind of get used to the cameras being around all the time to a degree, but they want a lot of drama in that, and I'm not about that life. When
Yeah,
they tried to like get us to fight, and I would just like be like, yeah, you're right, man, and they'd be like, ah, not give them anything. But the craziest thing about our season in particular is, so every season of Ink Master is like usually like one episode where they'll make a few artists do a collaboration, and it's always a hot mess. Like it without a lot of planning, that kind of stuff doesn't usually go really well. And
yeah,
our whole season was collaborations. It was like that one bad episode from every season was like our whole season. So it was like really, like, it was way harder, I think, than what other people had experienced with the show, because everything we did, we had to work with another person. And
yeah,
it made it really difficult to do like your best of anything. And it's already hard to do good work there because of just the environment and the restrictions and the time. And but yeah, it was,
mm,
I'm I think I'm glad I did it. It was an experience, and it's something that I can talk about, but it was
yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't want to do it again.
Do you think, because of having actually, even though what it was, that you got a more popularity come through, and that like somebody, this thing from like, the guy from Spain or wherever visit you because they saw that, or when you're doing the conventions, they came specifically because they saw you on Ink Master?
um I definitely, at conventions, I would definitely have people coming up to me and saying they love seeing me on the show. But I got a little bit of work out of it. most of the people that emailed me after the show just really wanted like little kind of souvenir tattoos to say they got tattooed by somebody on Ink Master, and I
Yeah.
just, especially in the States, I didn't have time for it because I was so booked up with bigger work, so I wasn't able to accommodate a lot of that, unfortunately. But I did get a few like sleeves and things out of it, but overall I wouldn't say it like boosted my career or anything. Yeah, I do get some very nice
Awesome.
messages on Instagram, so cool.
Yeah, you probably get like, oh, I saw you on Ink Master. I decided to follow you because I saw that you're on Instagram. You get a bunch of those.
Yeah,
Awesome.
or just like, yeah, I get a lot of like, oh, you were my favorite, like I wish you'd won and stuff like that, but it's like, yeah. Yeah.
There is an element to like what they call reality TV, which, you know, it is about trying to make people keep watching, and you can't keep people watching if it gets just a normal person just tattooing. You know, there's hours of
Yeah.
just tattooing, and you're just watching tattooing, and so I guess that's why they do what they do. And it's the same on Survivor. Like hearing about Survivor, there's like they create conflict because they want to make entertaining TV. And I think what I enjoy about like you know, just watching a anime based on a manga is just it's the artist's work transferred, adapted into an anime. There's no sort of like, you know, we're changing this and that. That's why I love anime so much, because it is what the artist has decided to do from the start, and the animators have basically said, "There's the work. This is what we're doing. We're not adding anything else to it apart from that." And I enjoy that. And I think that sort of cuts out any sort of outside influences on that work. And I'm like I think the more anime and manga becomes more and accessible to popular culture, as they say, you know, to the populace in the mainstream, I think there is that opportunity for more work for artists like yourselves to be doing, you know, work like this on other people's work on bodies. But did you notice a shift? Like, was there a shift where you said, wow, we're getting a lot more anime stuff happening, or we're getting a lot more comic related work happening?
I don't know. For me, I've just like I mean I've been a nerd for so long. I've always sort of attracted that kind of clientele. I have definitely noticed though over the last few years, a lot of tattoo artists have started doing anime stuff that didn't used to do it. It's become a hugely popular style. And that's something I haven't done a lot of anime tattooing because I feel like my style doesn't lend itself as well to it. But when like even since Nick started doing it a few years ago, there's been like so many people have switched to it. And it's really cool. I mean, it's cool to see different people's take on the same characters, but yeah, it's definitely, there's a huge shift towards anime right now. It's become really popular, like in like Western culture.
I mean, like for me, like only like the last 2-3 months, you know, I decided I've been, to be honest, like I was doing a manga like way back in like 2007, 6, 7 for my superhero character, because the artist at the time, I didn't have a Jim Lee, you know, kind of artist. I had someone who was more cartoon based, you know, and like manga style, because he was learning manga himself, how to do that. And so my characters look like that, and we're about to introduce those pages online soon. And because everybody has seen our characters look like Wonder Woman, you know, the way she looks now, or Supergirl, in the American style, whereas when we first started with comics, they look like chibis, you know, and so on. And so now, like the reason I'm saying that is like now I'm actually creating a fantasy, a manga world universe myself, which is, you know, SK, which is like life in another world, you know, and so you know, it's kind of like interesting to see like how popular anime and manga has gotten over the last 10-15 years, I would say, because more people have, I guess the West has kind of realized that we don't want to regurgitate superhero stories over and over and over again. Is there anything else
Hmm.
in other mediums that are, as a fan of that, as comic book fans, to move over to read that? Did you, or, because with Nick doing anime art style or manga art style
Hmm.
as his tattoo base, did you yourself start, or both of you start reading manga and, or, as well?
I have not read that much manga. We have a bunch here. I'm planning on it. We've got a lot of Demon Slayer and My Hero here right now, but it's weird you can buy it at the warehouse now. That's a big change. Like the warehouse sells
Yeah,
manga, but
yeah,
I read a lot of comics. Not so much these days because I've got a kid and I don't have time for anything.
yeah,
But yeah, we do both watch quite a lot of anime. Nick reads manga. Yeah,
yeah,
it's something, it's on my to do list. But I've been watching anime since the 90s. So
yeah,
back when it was just like the only thing you could get here was like Sailor Moon and Dragon Ball Z. you know. Um, but yeah, like I mean it's Japan uses it as like it's another way to tell stories. It's not like
yeah,
Western culture until recently has always treated cartoons as something for children, and it's never been like that in Japan. It's like every anime has a
right.
very specific sort of group that it's aimed at, and they don't. Yeah, I don't know. I've just always really loved the way that they use it as a way to tell stories. So especially
Yeah.
like Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, or we've just
Mm.
finished Attack on Titan. Like it's those kind of very like hard hitting stories. It's just it's I don't know. It's a cool medium.
Yeah. I, there's the thing. I think like people just think it's anime is basically Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's just One Piece. But like, I mean, I'm watching Garo, which is Korean, and
Hmm.
and also I was watching, what was I watching yesterday? Girls Front Line, which is based on a a game, like a mobile
Hmm.
game out of China, but the
Yeah.
anime itself is done out of Japan. And they're two totally different styles. One's based on supernatural demons and warriors in old Japan, medieval Japan, and another one's based in
Hmm.
like 2060 in the future with like
Hmm.
AI. So, but they're two different stories and styles and themes. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
people in the West who aren't aware of this kind of just go, "Oh, yeah, it's for kids, and that's what it is." But like you said, it's like a another way to tell a different story to different age groups. And the stuff that you mentioned earlier, like Slain, and not even just Slain, but like Preacher, not meant for kids.
Hmm.
Monstrous,
Yeah.
probably a bit more mature reader. Saga, definitely mature reader, but kind of kind of like teen age group. And
Hmm.
if people see that as it's just for kids, they don't understand that there's different age groups specifically in there. And of course, there's
Yeah.
the Jinshi creators, which is like like independent creative artwork that sorry, manga that the creators themselves produce, right?
Hmm.
Which we fall into, which is like as an independent company without
Yeah.
Punch Studios, where we create our own comics, and for whatever age group we aim it at, those are what the themes will be about. I think the more, like you said, more accessible it becomes, like at the warehouse, where you never would have thought that the warehouse would be carrying manga, but they've been carrying
Yeah.
graphic novels and comic book stuff for a while. But this change
Yeah.
shows that this art form is now mainstream, even
Hmm.
here. You know,
Yeah.
even though we've been loving it for decades, and with Akira, um, gosh,
Mm.
Studio Ghibli, Ghibli,
Yes.
and all that stuff that's been around. And I think, um, yeah, I just appreciate that what what you guys bring to our community and your art style. And I'm just hope everybody will, you know, be able to appreciate that and also be able to seek you out for that. So with that, I'm just going to close off now. And thank you, Erin,
Okay.
for joining me today. And I hope all the best for you guys down in at this convention down in Wellington, and also for your team that's going to be helping look after the store here at Plunge. And all the best. And hopefully we'll meet up when you guys come back. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I hope you guys have fun down there. And of course, those tattoo conventions are just another amazing things to be at, because I've enjoyed being at the one that I had, the one we talked about with New Plymouth. So
Mhm.
how long is the one that you're down there for before we finish here? And what dates?
Most conventions are either 2 or 3 days. I think the Wellington one's just 2, so it's I believe it's July 9th and 10th. So
Okay.
yeah, just
And the
unfortunate
venue?
timing that it's the Plunge.
Oh, that's fine. The venue it's at?
Hang on, I have to look this up because it's a weird venue. 1 second.
And there's what, 100 people there, aren't there? Like 100 artists for that two days.
It's something, yeah, it's something like that. Maybe 80 or no, it says here hosting over 100. So, but yeah, it is in the grand scheme of things, it's smaller. So it's Dominion Museum, 15 Buckle Street. So it's the old Dominion Museum. It's like I think they've turned it into a convention center, but it's a really cool old museum building. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. So you've heard that. So Dominion Museum, 15 Buckle Street, Wellington, on the 9th and the 10th of July. So that's a whole weekend. You guys can go see Erin and Nick. And if you're in, if you want to get, I guess, Sailor Moon, or or anything related to anime in that way, or and also, you're able to do like comic book art as well. So you cover the whole pop culture genre, the two of you, and that's awesome. So yeah. So if you guys are looking for something like that, hop on down if you're down in Wellington or near Wellington or in the surrounding communities and want a tattoo. But even if you want to go check out something different like a tattoo convention, go for it. It's a family environment as well. Like you said, food stuff and things and music and it's not just tattoo people there. Yeah. In finishing, thank you so much, Erin, for joining me today, and I hope all the best. And for everybody that's watching, ka kite anō, thank you. Wherever you are, be well, be safe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.